Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cheerleaders, welcome to the episode of Tatami Talk. My name is Juan, Digital player Anthony. This is a judo podcast for judo players by two judo players. So, Anthony, how you doing?
My allergies are killing me. That's all I'll say. Like the interview for this podcast episode, you're gonna notice I keep muting my mic and like coughing in the corner. But still having some breathing issues, and I did randori for the first time in a while yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that.
I barely survived. I didn't have to use my inhaler until I went against Scotty because he went like super hard.
I saw that. He was going really hard with you. It was going really,
yeah. And I was like, oh God, my first time back. And then I had to use an inhaler. I had trouble breathing afterwards. So I had to use an inhaler afterwards, but otherwise it was good. And I'm feeling really sore today. And other than the breathing, I can see how like my judo muscles have deteriorated.
Oh no.
Like I feel like I can't move the way that I did before, you know? So definitely probably because I gained a little weight too, because I've been lifting weights following James DeLacy and Castellit's program. So but that's what I'm up to.
Well, I'm back to work now. I had my nice little 4-day holiday in Vegas. That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I planned to maybe do a little bit of training out there, but wasn't able to. And then yesterday, I'm surprised my voice actually pretty decent today because last night I went to a wrestling show.
Yeah, your sounds a little off.
Yeah, I went to the New Japan show, and I always lose my voice at wrestling shows or when I go to big events. I'm shouting and yelling and stuff. So I tried to not do that much this time because I knew I was going to do this show today. I was going like, "Ooh, you suck."
There was an episode where we did a recording on when I lost my voice, I believe.
Well, we both did at the UFC event.
No, like when I was literally lost my voice the following day after. Yeah, I think I lost my voice the day after. Yeah.
So that's happening with us for the most part. Oh, and I did thank you for the mention. Someone sent me a message being like, "Oh, Juan, it's nice to see you go on vacation for once. Anthony let you go out."
Yes.
Yes, he let me go out. Thank you. I appreciate it, Anthony. So just a little bit of judo news before we get to interview. So there's a normal thing that in the year of the Olympics, there's no world championships. It's only happened one time to my recollection, and that was the year of the pandemic when they had the Tokyo Olympics and the World Championships at the same time. What's happening in 10 days, Anthony?
The World Championship.
Yeah. So for some odd reason, they're deciding to have another World Championships as the year of the Olympics. So in theory, you can become world champion and Olympic champion in the same year. Now, is it smart?
Again.
I don't know. I don't know if it's smart to go to two big tournaments like that so close together. But hey, I'm not the players. I'm not the country sending them out there.
We briefly discussed. So in the interview we're doing, we discussed it briefly. Whether we think it's a smart idea. But I don't think it's a smart idea. I don't know what Judo Canada is doing. But also I don't know why they're doing it. Is this going to be a normal thing? Did they realize how much more money they were making, perhaps?
Sports washing. Sports washing. So I got a cough.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I'm worried for whoever is going to end up representing Canada. It's going to affect their performance in the Olympics. Yeah. Especially if they get an injury right before. That's going to suck. And it's like I said, it's going to be Judo Canada's fault.
I just blame whoever's. We're in the IGF deciding, you all know what? Let's make some money off this. All right. The tokens didn't do that well. Judo TV is not doing the best right now. Blue Lions aren't selling out. Okay.
Yeah, I can't sell I'm stuck with that Blue Lion title. No one wants to buy it off of me.
All right. Just a little bit of news. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the next episode. But today we're interviewing Robert Eriksson. He's one of the new coaches for USA Judo. He used to be the head coach of this national Swedish team. Just came to the US. And it's a very interesting interview. He's been doing a lot of interviews lately. He's been on a lot of other shows. You might see him stuff. So I hope our interview is a little bit different. I hope you get to know a little bit more about him, how he came to this job, how he came to the US, how he got into judo. So with no further ado, let's get to the interview. So everybody, our special guest today is Robert Eriksson. He's a new coach of USA Judo. He used to be the head coach of the Swedish national team, but now he's moved to the US. He's trying to help the US build a better team, and we're going to talk to him. So Robert, just to introduce you to our fans and stuff, how'd you get into martial arts? How'd you pick judo? And how you doing?
Let's start with the easy part. I'm doing fine. I'm doing happy to be here on the guys' podcast. I listened to it a couple of times and I enjoy it. It's what do you say? A fun and relaxed podcast, I think. We have nice topics.
Thank you.
Yeah, my judo journey, it started it was long ago, of course. I'm an old guy, but I started judo kind of late. I was actually 13 or 14 or something when I really started training judo. Mm-hmm. I always had a passion for those kind of sports like judo, weightlifting, all this martial arts stuff. Because I was growing up, with Schwarzenegger and Van Damme, yes. People, in my youth, Uh-huh. But then it took me a while to really, I played like soccer and basketball, like all the other kids, but I felt something was missing. Mm-hmm. And then my mom is actually from Serbia in the beginning. Mm. So we spent many of the summers there when I was a kid. And there I got in contact through my family there into martial arts. Like actually it was karate, a little bit judo also. Then I came home and it took a little bit longer time. And then I just went one day. I want to do martial arts. So I went to like the local club. Mm-hmm. Just signed up for something, and it turned out to be jiu-jitsu.
What kind of jiu-jitsu? Was it Japanese jiu-jitsu or Brazilian BJJ jiu-jitsu?
No, BJJ didn't exist at that time. Not in Sweden, at least. Not in Sweden. It was a Japanese jiu-jitsu, but really like narrow style. Mm. Which more or less was only focused on self-defense. Okay. I had no clue. I stepped in. They had like white geese and everything. Okay, fine. This is fine. I'm going to do this. Mm. But it was quite similar to judo because you learn the break falls, you learn the basic throws like ogoshi or sotogari, some foot sweeps. Mm. So I did that for a couple of years, but that style, they didn't have like the competitive side. And I wanted to compete, and in the same class was also judo. Okay. And they had like a local tournament. So I signed up for the local tournament, but then of course I had to train judo also before I competed. So that turned to judo. And then I was about 14 actually. And from that day, I went into the judo side of the club. I never walked back.
Okay. So your story sounds really similar to our sensei Philippe's story, but he also says he started judo late, around 12 or 13 or something like that, and then he went to the local club and he did karate first or something, or aikido, I think, one of those.
Yeah, I even did kendo for a while.
Okay.
So they opened like a kendo section in the club, like a small club, So everybody, we have to support the kendo stuff to start to do kendo, but I was not so good at it, so I just did it for 6 months or something. But then, I started to do more judo, and as a kid, I was quite big, not big, but I was tall. I was like in height. I was now in like 65 kilos. I don't know in pounds, but so I was, I trained with this big, like the seniors. I started with the senior because I had my basics from jiu-jitsu. Yeah, so like I got my first belt in like 3 months, I think.
Okay, so that's cool.
So I started to train with them. And then after a while, quite early, I was lucky because, at that part of the time, it was the beginning of the 90s. So in that part of the year, the Soviet Union collapsed. Mm-hmm. And they had like a competition in Sweden, a team competition, where a team from Lithuania came to compete. And then they ended up staying in Sweden. They didn't go back. They stayed in Sweden to get immigration. Uh-huh. And somehow they ended up in my really small town. I lived in a small town. It was like 30,000 people lived in that town. And they ended up to live there. And there were 3 guys, 65 kilos, 71 kilos, and 95 kilos at that time. So, then they had nothing to do. They was just there waiting for the immigration status for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
They just did judo, and I trained with them every day for 1 year.
That must have been great.
Of course it was. Without that, I would probably not be here today. Sure not. That was huge for me.
Mm-hmm.
So my development was quite strong. Also, my cauliflower ears got quite big. I came home, destroyed. My mom was crying. What are you doing?
Well, your beautiful ears. Oh no.
No, that was really, really, really good for me. I got a really broad perspective of judo, competitive judo, from a very, very early stage. So I think that saved me a little bit, because normally most kids, they start competing and training like when they're 6, 7 years old. And when I did like I remember I did my first competition, like the guys I was competing with, I was a yellow belt or orange belt, yellow belt. They were like brown belts or black belts in my age. I had no chance. I think I lost my first competition in 3 seconds, which turned out to be against a guy that later turned out to be a very good friend of me, which I was competing with for 10 years after. So that was quite fun. So yeah, that's how it started.
Well, I think it's funny how you and you trained with Sensei Philippe. You guys were part of the same team, or do you guys just?
Oh no, he's much. I think you're pissed at me. He's much older than me.
I was thinking the same thing, because you look so young, but then when you said Soviet Union collapsed, and I'm like, wait.
Well, it brings my question and stuff, because you and Philippe both talk about how you both started. You both say how you both started judo so late. You guys started in your early teens and stuff. Yeah. To us Americans, that's not too late. That's not too bad. But you do think about it. A lot of high level competitors do start when they're very, very young.
Yeah, I would say that most people, they start around 5 to 8 years old. Maybe in some. In Sweden, normally you don't start like sports really between 4, 6, or 7. You can some like gymnastics, they can start a little bit earlier. Like they have some, you go and play, and some clubs have play judo, when we call it, like you more or less have their parents and play. But that was some big difference to US. And I meet a lot of people, they start judo really, really late. That doesn't really happen so often in Sweden.
Yeah. Well, here's another question for you. This is one question I always wanted to ask you. You do look great for your age. I don't know if that's Swedish Living or something, what lotions you guys got out there, the water, or what it is. But you started being a national team coach very young, in my opinion. How has that changed? Did you go for competitor to just straight national national coaching? It's how did that transition happen for you so young?
Yeah, so what happened was I was about 27, 28 something when I became the national coach. So I was retiring as an athlete because, I had about 10 years in the national team, like in the first team, traveling the world, competing. Unfortunately, I never managed to go all the way, but I was, average international player. So, but then I started, my body started to give up on me. I didn't have a serious injury. Some people they break a knee or something, you're out for 1 year, you had the operation, but I had all these small things, that made my life really, really hard as an athlete. And at that point, I started to get a bigger and bigger interest for coaching. And I was taking more and more coaching responsibilities in my club as my coaches, they started also to retire a little bit.
Yeah.
So that step became quite natural to me to take over a little bit more. And then it turned out our club where I was training at that time of my career was one of the best in Sweden. And many athletes came to this club to train with us, to train with me, to train with some other guys. So then I started to be their coach, on club level. And then we had a really bad cycle, Olympic cycle, that was block, including me. I didn't perform well either as an athlete and some other athletes. So it was it was some political stuff going on in the federation. So the current national coach quit or got fired or what happened, and suddenly I was one option, and suddenly I had a job.
Wow.
And before that, I was coaching in the club 1 year. So I coached most of the players who was already in the national team, but I was not the national coach.
Okay. So you already had a relationship with the players already.
Yeah, so. I didn't. Those I didn't coach, they were like my old teammates. Because they were, which also was a little bit hard for me. So then, suddenly I became the national coach, and then it started. This was the September 2004. Then it was a couple rough years for me, to be honest. Like for me to find my way around as a coach, to develop. I wouldn't say it was optimal to be a head coach that young without really coaching experience. But I managed to push through, and step by step things turned out better and better. So I did hang in there.
Well, you turned out very well because you got voted, I can't remember how many years ago it was now, but you voted like one of the top 3 coaches in the world. Or what was that? Anthony, what was that nomination he was up for?
It was the IGF coach, right?
Yeah, that's true. It was a couple of years, 3 years ago or something. Yeah, it was the Olympic year, 2021.
Yeah. So I say that's a great achievement right there. All right.
Yeah. As I said, it turned out like from the first 3-4 years was hard. But I worked really, really hard. I worked crazy hard. It's hard to explain how much. That's what I did. I was working because I was at that point. I didn't have any kids. I didn't have any family. I only devoted all my time to judo. I also started the same. After a couple of years, I started to work. Started to study in Great Britain in a coaching program they had in Europe at that time. We called it sport performance, but it was like the prologue for IGF Academy they have now. You studied in university for 3 years. So you study like normal sports science, you can say, and judo.
Yes. So it's sports science dedicated mostly towards, it has to be dedicated towards judo.
Yeah. Okay. So I did that for 3 years as I was working full time. So it was kind of rough.
Is there a reason you picked that program in the UK and not some other ones? Like I'm sure France and Korea has one, right?
Yeah, the biggest option was, of course, that they started it. It was quite new that. And the other ones they have, it was similar. They're either in France or in Germany or in like Russia. And I can speak a little bit German, but not good enough to study it in German or not in France either. So that was a good option. And at that time also in Sweden, we had Daniel Laskau, who now is the referee director. He was working also in Sweden for a couple of years as a sport director. So he also connected us with that course.
So before we move on, did you get anything for that coaching nomination or award? Like either from the Swedish Federation or IJF? Did they give you like a plaque, like some $500 gift card to IKEA? I don't know.
I didn't win it, so I didn't get anything.
No, he has to do the whole, like, I was honored just to be nominated. Okay,
yeah,
it's an honor to be nominated.
It was an honor to be nominated, actually. Yes, it was an Olympic year, So the other people it was nominated, but it was like Kose Inoue, it was Driton Kuka, it was Bernish from Austria, and they all were great coaches, So you have to be nominated throughout with them. It was a really great honor. And the French coaches was also nominated because they won the Olympic gold medal in the team event.
So yeah, I heard of you before I met you. And because I feel like for those who are not high level competitors like us, we usually don't hear about coaches unless they get kicked out for being too theatrical or being too into it or having certain weird quirks. Like I'm going to use the retired coach from Cuba. Like so usually those people are the ones that are known. But like someone like you, like it's really rare that they actually get recognition also.
Yeah, especially when you're from a small country like Sweden is a really small country when it comes to judo. It's not, we were at least, we managed to get our way up there thanks to the good athletes we had for about 10, 15 years. So we started to get like a recognized country, which was one of my goals when I started actually. I had 2 goals when I started as a coach. One was to win a championship medal. So I never did that as an athlete. I never won like European world medal. So that was like one of the goals I really, really had. And the second goal was to make judo a recognized high performance sport in Sweden. sport that people would say, okay, hey, this is a good sport. They know what they are doing. They have a good program. They have they like to be accepted as a real sport, not only as this, strange martial arts with people throwing each other or knocking out each other. People don't really know what we're doing.
It's tough to explain to people what we do. It's like, I throw someone, then they get up, then they throw me, then we get up and they throw me again.
Yeah, it is. And I managed to achieve both of them. I managed to achieve both of them. I managed to get a lot of championships medals, both the European and World Championship, and also to get one of the most recognized sports in Sweden. When we got we was for a couple of years one of the most funded sport. And I even got a job working for Swedish Federation, Sport Federation, after I retired from judo.
So as far as I understand, the funding wasn't always there. So what changed? Because when I talked to Nicholas Gill when I went to the seminar, he said it was I forgot the guy's name for a second, but he won bronze at one of the Olympics, and that so that kind of kickstarted the Ministry of Sports' funding for Judo Canada, and that kind of like snowballed from there. Was there some similar event in Sweden that caused that? Or was it just a luck thing?
No, it was not luck. It was not luck. It was, we have a similar system to Canada, not exactly the same, and it didn't kickstart it the same way there. Like for us, it's more like you have to present like to the Olympic Committee and the Swedish Sport Confederation, like what you're doing and why you're doing it and why they should fund us. To present these 4 8 years plans and like training programs. You have to present like to say in English, like the analysis of the world elite. Like how does it look like? What is the best players doing in the world? Like how long time does it take for them to achieve a medal? How many competitions they do in 1 year? How many techniques they use? But all this stuff. It's a lot of stuff.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah, I did a lot of work to put that into work, because it's hard to find like research. It's hard to find like good references. Okay, we can talk to people, but even if you're out and you talk to people in federations, everybody give you a different answer depending on who you talk to, If you say, how much should you train a week? You can get, all the answers between 5 hours to 25 hours to 30 hours, depending on who you ask in the team or which coach you ask or whatever. But I managed to get some okay data out of it and present the report. Like, this is how it looks like. And this is from this analysis, this is what we have to try to achieve in Sweden, our resources we have now, and what we could do if we got more, etc. And then we try to put that plan into work. And step by step, we started to win smaller and smaller victories. And then they say, okay, this is actually working. We're going to give you more and more money. Then I would say after a couple of years, we had, because in Sweden is also, they give like a personal support to athletes. If you're a high level athlete, you get a personal support. More athletes you have in this program, of course, the more funding you get to the sport. So we managed to push more and more athletes into that program. And that way it worked out after a higher and higher funding.
Now, because of all your hard work and you developing the judo players and becoming more recognized, is that how you guys got your new sports facility? That's I can't remember where it's at now, but I remember Philippe being like, it's in the middle of nowhere. They put this new sports place for them in the middle of nowhere for them to train.
Depends on which it refers to. We have one training center, which is in the middle of nowhere, which is for high school.
Okay.
It's a high school program, but that's the old one. Even I went there when I was a kid. So you go there for 3 or 4 years and you do like high school studies and you train judo full time. So you live there. You live there at like a dormitory in the school, which is a really good opportunity for most athletes to if you're mature enough. Because you have to leave your home when you're 16, Not everybody. Not everybody can do that.
Is that open? Is that open to international people, or is it just Swedish citizens?
Swedish citizens, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna send my nephew there. Was what I was going to say.
Yeah, you have to attend the Swedish school system. If you can attend the school system, then you can go there. Like we had some people who was like immigrants and stuff that have been going there, but you have to. If you can go to school in Sweden, you can get then you have to get selected because they select 8 people each year.
Oh, wow.
At my time they did. Now I think it's a bit less. But so that has always been in place, and hopefully it's going to stay forever also. Mm-hmm. What happened like the last years, we started a national training center in the south of Sweden in Malmö.
Okay, I think that's the one that Philippe was talking about, that one.
That's not in the middle of nowhere. It's like the third biggest city in Sweden.
I don't know how big it is. I don't know about what Philippe tells me. Now I'll probably get yelled at him by us later, probably. Juan, I didn't say that. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I lost the translation. No habla inglés. He's
from Stockholm, when they think everybody lives in Stockholm, they think everything else. I mean, it's like the countryside. So. Yeah, I started that a couple of years ago again.
Okay. All right. So you get all this massive success. You get nominated from the Olympic year, one of the coaches of the year and stuff. So the U.S. comes a calling. They're like, hey, they knock on your door. They send you an email. Did it come with a bag of money? Be like, hey, we come to the U.S. How did this thing happen? It's like you go from Sweden to the U.S. How does that happen?
Yeah. So what happened was after Tokyo Olympic Games, or even before actually, I decided to stop coaching. The pandemic came, so I had to. Of course, I didn't want to stop. I wanted to do last Olympics. But that last year was really rough for us, for everybody, of course. Mm-hmm. But coach, it was really, really stressful, and it took a lot out of me. So after Olympics, I was done, I felt, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. So then I retired as a head coach, and I got appointed as a high performance director, mm-hmm. which was already a part I did. Like as a head coach, like it was 2 pathways. It's one, coaching and develop athletes. One is to develop and work with a pathway, like the system. How do you bring the athletes from cadets to senior and all that stuff? Mm-hmm. So I was already doing that, but I want to do that for full time. And not traveling, because I was traveling like with a team. Normally we travel like about 200 days a year, all over the world. And, with the family life, it's hard, Mm-hmm. So I stepped down. I recruited a new coach, a head coach 2 head coaches, Sally Conway from Great Britain, which was a successful athlete, and she was new to coaching. But I managed to get her to Sweden, and which I'm very happy for. I still am happy for that. And she brought together another guy who's called Victor. He's a good guy, also a young coach who's coming up. So they were doing the coaching, and I was just working with the coaches and like with the system. And of course, I helped out a little bit. That's coaching also. So I did that for almost 2 years. But then I felt like but then we started the training center. Everything started to go well with the new coaches. I felt, okay, mm-hmm. It was a good time for me to escape.
Escape?
No, yeah, but I got an opportunity to start working for the Swedish Swedish Sport Federation. And in this, I was still working with like development and high performance and research and sports science together with the high performance team in that area. And then we worked with all the sports in Sweden, like 65 national teams, which was really interesting. I learned a lot. But I only worked there for 1 year, but it was really, really good for me. Really a good eye opener, and I learned a lot. Mm-hmm. Then one day I was talking to my old friend who was working with me before as an assistant coach for juniors. He was visiting me home in my hometown, and he said, hey, you see this USA, you are looking for a national coach to start a training center in somewhere in US. I said, yeah, but I'm not interested, US. Now.
It's okay. If you're happy where you're at, there's fine. Not
I know, but it was far away, and I just retired for coaching, and US, I know since the past, like it's been like some issues and so
in terms of judo, or kind of about you got drunk
last
one night.
Yeah, but there's always conflicts and different organizations and all that stuff.
Oh, so you guys knew even before you joined?
Yeah, I didn't know much about it, but I know a little bit about it. Of course, I was not super familiar with the system then, of course. But then it went a couple of weeks, and I actually read the description for the job, what they wanted to do. And I said, okay, maybe it's interesting. They're trying to do something new and to really start a training center and to develop towards not only LA, but towards the future. Mm-hmm. okay, maybe it can be fun. So I actually applied for the job. Like, it was a job. I applied for the job. I was late with my application, but they still accepted it. Thank God. And then the summer went through, like last summer. I did some online interview, and they selected me to go to the next stage. But then they took me to North Carolina, to Charlotte, where I am now. So the facilities, and me talked more with the staff, and then I thought, okay, this is interesting. This is something I will try to do. It's going to be a great challenge, because I always said that if I'm going to do judo again, coaching at a high level, I want to do it in an environment which I'm not used to, because that would like make more of a, it's been so long time in one environment, which I was almost 20 years, and then also as an athlete for 10 years. I was 30 years in the high national team in Sweden. You know everybody, you've done it, and there was nothing wrong. It was not like a conflict or something like that. But you opened every door. Sometimes you want to open some new doors.
Well, I can imagine the challenge of going from Sweden to the U.S. It's just, especially North Carolina. That's not like, I'm not dissing North Carolina. I want to get some heat from North Carolina people. I'm just like, it's not Los Angeles, San Jose, Boston, New York. It's not like one of these major places. It's different.
Difference. Yeah, but then how things turned out, I got the job and I accepted the position after a while, and then I went here in October, November last year, the first time, to spend a couple of months here to look around in the US, and then I came back in January for full times.
So are you aware of any other coaches that applied for the position?
Not really. I knew one or two, but I don't know. Actually, I never asked them, actually. I know one more that was applying by coincidence. I met him, but no, otherwise I don't know.
Okay. Well, how is the new facility anyways? How is it out there?
It's good. We have a good facility. We have our own dojo, which it's not super big, but it's good enough for now. And this is like a temporary dojo. We're gonna have it like for maybe 1 or more year, 1.5 year. Give us hopefully a bigger facility. Okay. But it's good. They built a new one. It's a really nice spring floor, like a very good floor, new mats. Everything is very good. And of course, you have access to all what you need, like with the gym and athletic trainers, technical condition coaches, and psychologists, and all that stuff is like accessible all the time.
Nice.
So it's based in the universities. We use the facilities of UNC.
The University of North Carolina, yeah.
Okay, so is it on the same campus or just like, it's on the same place? Okay. Yeah. Do you know why they picked North Carolina?
Yeah,
Did they tell you?
Yeah, why is it North Carolina instead of the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs?
So the thing is, the organization runs this training center. It's a private organization, which is called Juans Performance Center. And they, together with the state of North Carolina, is funding the whole program.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
They are funding the program. They build us the dojo. We can use all the facilities for free. We don't pay anything for it. We get a budget for each year, which includes my salary and money for the athletes for housing and travel. So it's a good funded program. And they do this to other sports. Like there's a lot of sports some is residential, like we are. Taekwondo is one of the most successful. We've been here the longest. But field hockey, rugby, table tennis, archery, like they're developing. Like I think that in total they're working with 15 sports or something.
Wow. So here in the US, like there's not a whole lot of colleges that offer judo programs or offer like legit judo programs. Yeah. So does that college then offer a legit judo program there as like
no, it's not a college program in that point of view. Like it's in collaboration with the college, with university, but it's not a university program. You can, throughout the system, you can study there and get help with like in-state tuition fee and stuff like that.
So it's different from San Jose State.
Yeah. This is like a high-performance program. That's it. Yeah. If you want to study, that option is available. And also, you're going to have some athletes who study at other colleges, which is also possible. So USA Judo, for some reason, I don't know how the story was before I got involved, but they teamed up with them for a couple of years ago, actually. Then it took them a while to get everything finalized. And then when they finalized everything, they realized, okay, we need a coach for this program. Who's going to coach it? And then
just let the athletes run wild. Just set them loose.
I'm really
guys,
curious.
Have fun.
I'm really curious who set this up, whether USA Judo reached out to them or whether UNC and the state kind of just said, okay, we want to support these sports and let's fund it. Because I find it really weird that LA Olympics is coming up in California and LA is doing the LA Parks and Recs program and not working with UCLA or USC, which are big sports schools in the country, to do something similar.
Yeah. At first, that would make kind of more sense to do that. But I guess there is nobody in Los Angeles who want to fund this program, that want to pay for it.
Exactly. That's why. Well, you said the state was funding it, so
I think maybe in 2 big cities, because Charlotte is not that a big city. For me, it's a big city, but compared to other cities in the US, of course, it's not a big city.
Yeah.
Sometimes when we have training centers or stuff like that in 2 big cities, it can be complicated with the logistics, and you're going to put people somewhere and take a new 18-year-old kid, from Wisconsin, put him by himself in LA.
Yeah, the good thing about LA though is it's sprawled out, so you could technically have like a USC campus out in Bakersfield or something, which is like,
oh god, talk about LA improper.
Juan, do you have anything else before I continue?
I know before you start getting into your in-depth questions, is there any more nice questions I could ask fun ones? No, I think not. I think I'm going to try to keep it light after this. So Anthony, get to nitty gritty.
All right. So the first question I want to ask is, there's been some, let's just say, gossiping online, and I kind of want you to clarify the difference between the head coach and your position, which is the head performance training coach. Like, how is it any different? And will you be actually going to be in the coaching booth or chair? I don't know. It looks like a little booth on YouTube.
That's a good question though. So USA Judo doesn't have a head coach. There is there's a high performance director, which is Eddie Little. And then there is some coaches, club coaches, there is appointed as national coaches for some events. But they are not paid, like they are paid maybe for when they go for USA Judo, I guess. But for me, my position is the national, like the training center head coach to build and develop the training center and to try to help athletes who stay there or maybe not going to stay there, but to come there and train during some blocks of the year to develop and get better. So that is like my actual position, and I'm full-time paid by USA Judo to do that job. So that is the difference. Yes, I'm going to probably go to some more events in the future. I've not been to too many now. The main reason is mostly because I wanted to get familiar in the US more and to get to know athletes and coaches and to actually work with them, because it doesn't make sense for me to travel to a tournament if I don't know the athletes. What I'm going to do if I've not seen them in training, if I don't have a relation to them, so yeah, that's
because that was going to be my question. It was going to be my next question. You kind of answered it, which is usually in other countries, there's the head coach and then there's assistant coaches. And then the assistant coaches that work closely with those particular athletes will be the one coaching them at the tournament, correct? So, so I assume that's what you don't want to, because right now in the US, if I remember, it's whoever USA Judo sends or whoever can afford traveling with their athlete that gets to sit on the chair. And sometimes you have a coach you never met before coaching you.
Yeah, that's happening. That's happening all the time, which is, I would say, is not good for anybody.
Yes.
But the system they have had so far, let's see what happens in the future. I don't know. It's not my decision. But normally, you have a national team and you select a bunch of guys or girls before the year, and then you push them for 1, 2, 3 years or whatever, and you work with them to build a team and try to develop them. US is a different system, like the athletes choose by themselves what they want to do, more or less. And then, as you said, like the coach who have money or has the possibility to go, they go, and it kind of jumps in a little bit here and there.
Mm-hmm. I've always thought that was kind of a weird
It's
thing.
a fragile system, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a weird thing with the U.S. system where, like, say your new facilities in North Carolina, you'd expect all the U.S. athletes to be there training together, training with you on a regular basis. But in America, we have this weird thing where, like, say we're here in California. I like my coach. I like my system. I like being a big fish, small pond. I'm going to stay here in California and go travel other places.
That's how things are. And hopefully we can change it for the future, because again, it's not about if you're a good or bad coach, or if you're good or bad club environment or whatever. It's about to get those few people that actually is in the States. Like, it's similar to like the numbers I had back home,
Mm-hmm.
There is not enough in the clubs to support them to reach that level, to stay in that. That's why we need to bring people together. Then, of course, it's always like this. It's not always black or white. For some people, it can be hard to move because maybe they're older, maybe they have a family or whatever. But if you really, really want to bring the best athletes and give them the best possibilities, you must follow the train like the rest of the world is doing. If we look some statistics from the past, from the Olympic Games in Tokyo, I think like 85 to 90% of the medals were won by nations who have this system.
Mm-hmm.
The rest is like Japan, Brazil. They don't have they have their own, but because they are so strong in the universities and the professional teams, there are so many members that they don't really need a centralized system that's in the same way. But the smaller countries who win medals, they all train together on a regular basis because this is the only way.
That's how I see it too.
Nicholas Gill said the same thing when I asked him, but I think it's easier in some countries where the populations are all concentrated in like 3 or 4 cities throughout the whole country versus the US. It's like,
to be honest, it's never easy. It's never easy. There is no country, there is no system, there is no sport that's the perfect system. Mm-hmm. Everybody's saying, look at Europe, look at them. And we in Europe, we say, look at Japan, look at... When you get to know the systems, when you get to know the sports, you realize that everybody has the same issues. Everybody's, even if it's a big country with big money, they still have too little money, they think. They still have enough resources. But the difference, I think, in many countries is that even if you don't like the system, you still respect it. Mm-hmm. You realize, okay, I play my part in this puzzle. My job is to bring these athletes to a certain level, and I can take pride in that. Mm-hmm. And that person must move on to another environment. And that doesn't say that I'm a bad coach because I let this athlete go, or that I am a better coach because maybe I have more experience to work with athletes in that kind of environment. That's why I am in that environment. I'm not the club coach because that's not my expertise. There's a lot of people better than me to do that job. This is something we must understand and respect for the future, because this is the way of sport, and it's the same in the US with the professional sports.
Yeah,
it's not you don't start to play football in one club and then you stay there for 20 years and then you retire. You move on. You move on.
Well, I always bring that up. Like I think I was talking since Fleet about it. It's like here in LA, it's like baseball season's coming up. So it's like if I get drafted by the Dodgers, I'm not going to practice and live in New York and only come to Dodgers games when I play. No, I'm going to move to LA to play and practice with the Dodgers.
And also you have to realize this is not forever, Mm-hmm. Maybe you have a couple of years when you have to spend there, or depending on how you develop how things go, but yeah, that's where we are now. And the center is new, of course. It's a little bit in the startup. Mm-hmm. So things have to come together, but I think in the long run, it's a great opportunity for USA. I think I would say this is one of the best opportunities USA Judo has had, to have like possibility to fund more players to actually train full time.
Yeah.
And to travel.
Okay, so I want to talk about your recent trip around the country. I guess it was relatively recently, right? Around the country.
It always seems like you're traveling somewhere. Every photo I see, you're in a different place, different dojo, different clinic.
Yeah. So you were talking about trying to see the landscape, the gyms out there, and the talent out there. So I think that also played a part into you inviting people to how you decided who to invite to the National Training Center. So is that correct?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So when I came to US, you must understand that I came here, I don't really know anybody.
Yeah.
Of course, I met some of the coaches briefly a little bit. I have coached against a bunch of athletes throughout the years, of course, but I don't really know anybody. I don't know who is who is good, who is bad, how is the clubs working, how is the athletes training. It's important for me to get the information. That's why I said, okay, it's good for me to travel a little bit around the country and to do some training camps, to visit some clubs and see how is judo conducted. Not only high performance judo, like in general. That's why I went to a lot of clubs. Maybe even I came to your club. Even if that's not a high performance club, it's still important to see like how is the community, like what is the.
Yeah. So did you like the trip overall? Did you like what you see? And which one's your favorite city? Just outside of judo too.
You don't have to say Hollywood. You don't say Hollywood Judo is your favorite place. We all know it. Okay. We all know it's okay. You don't have to say it.
I don't know. It's my favorite series, but I until now, the area I spend the most time in, except here in North Carolina, is California and Los Angeles area, which I spend a lot of time. And also, I got a good relation to many people there. They was really friendly and helpful for me in the beginning.
I think that speaks for itself, that answer.
I don't know if I would like to live in LA, though. It's a little bit too big and too, I don't know.
I'll set you up in Torrance. How about that? Or,
Maybe in the future. You never know. That's been a good area. There is some other, like Washington, D.C. was a good area. Also, I visited a couple of times. There are some good areas in Florida as well. And now I was in Boston. It was good. So, yeah, it's everything has its good and bad parts, of course.
Have you had the drive yet?
The drive?
But have you had to drive yet anywhere?
God, yes. I drive there.
How you don't realize how big the U.S. is until you drive the U.S.
I never drive. I didn't drive. The furthest I drove like that was from here to Atlanta. That's not too far. But I drive in every city I've been to. Yeah.
How has the experience been compared to Europe?
The driving?
The driving. Yeah.
Oh, you try to talk about American drivers there, Anthony.
It's a Wild West driving. It's ridiculous, to be honest. It's ridiculous. Like every day I go to work from here where I live. It's like from me to university is like 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the traffic.
Oh, wow. In North Carolina, that's pretty far.
Yeah. But it's if there's no traffic, it's 18 minutes. So it's not that far. But it's a jungle every day. And of course, talk about LA. LA was terrible. But the worst experience driving was, I think, in Washington, D.C., to be honest.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I used to live there, so I totally agree. It's worse than LA.
Because there, if you took a wrong turn there, it took like forever before you were back on track.
Yeah. I think the only place I think that's worse than there is probably either Seattle or Atlanta. Those are the two places I think are worse than D.C. Yeah, but if you go to Florida, you have to deal with all the senior citizens driving on the streets. So, okay, so
driving is a big difference. I even got my driving. I got a U.S. driving license. So,
oh wow,
nice, congratulations.
Though I think it's harder to get a driver's license in Europe, from what I understand. Yeah,
it's very much more harder. This was a joke. To be honest.
This was a joke.
Okay, so on your trip, what were you looking for when you were? Obviously, you mentioned trying to see the culture, but that aside, when you're looking for talent, is there a certain age group you're looking for, certain style of judo, or a certain mentality, psyche kind of thing?
First of all, when it comes to looking for athletes, looking for talent in general, like what I'm basically most looking at is like the attitude and behavior. It's not so much about really how much judo they can do. Of course, they have to know some basic judo, of course. So it's more like how they conduct the trainings, how they approach challenges. If they step back or step forward, for example, how they handle stress and all that stuff. Of course, you cannot see that maybe in one training, but if you can see them over time, you can see how they cope with those things.
Maybe you should see how they drive on.
Yeah, maybe I should do that instead. Just take everybody to driving court somewhere. Yeah. And sometimes that can be good to do in a home environment because people don't get so stressed or
Yeah.
If you bring them to a national camp or doing it, the people get on the toes all the time, and they maybe showing a side of them which is maybe not the correct side. Yeah. Sooner or later you're going to realize that, but to see both sides of them, how they're doing in the club, and because in the end, when things comes down to who's going to succeed or not, it's not those always who perform the best in a national training camp or international training camp. It's those on average Wednesday morning, they go up and do the job with the same intensity, with the same concentration, as the same focus as they do in a national camp. It's those guys you want to have. Those you're looking for, and to see them in a club, you can maybe get a better understanding how they work and how they behave.
So was there anything you noticed in this whole tour of something that's very common throughout all the dojos in America that you didn't know or you were surprised to know about before, and both positive and negative, like nobody washes their gis or something like that?
The biggest surprise to me was how different it was between the clubs in the areas, how they conducted trainings, because even if I went to different high performance clubs, or what we call it, the way they made the trainings were quite different, from doing really, really intensity trainings, a lot of randori training. Those clubs basically no randori training or very much technical trainings. In general, I would say they put more and more time and effort in technical development rather than technical efficiency, techniques, really, which I can say maybe it's a bad thing a little bit. Yeah. If you talk about the high performance, with older athletes, so that was a big surprised me a little bit because even if you go to different clubs in Sweden or wherever, it's not that big difference, Some clubs, yes, they can be a little bit more competitive than others, and there can be more or less people in some of the clubs, but here it was because also I think it's because judo is in US is more an immigration sport.
Yeah. Like a lot of the top coaches come from other countries. Yeah.
Depending on which culture they come from, I think that also shows a lot how they conduct their trainings.
Oh yeah. Like here in Los Angeles, we have Japanese clubs, real American clubs, Korean clubs, Armenian clubs, Russian clubs. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I didn't think of that, but how much, I don't know how the coach certification is like in Sweden. I assume you have to be certified to be a coach, and there's some sort of course you have to take. Like, how much do you think it's due to that? Like how in Sweden is more centralized and all the coaches went through that same program versus here, let's just say our coaches' education is just mostly about how not to get sued. And so everyone gets to do their own thing kind of thing.
I don't know if it's because of that, because I wouldn't say, yes, there's a coaching program in Sweden. I wouldn't say it's bad. But I don't know if that really develops to be a good or bad coach. I just think because most people, they come through the same more or less pathway as an athlete. You do the same kind of camp, you do the same kind of, if you're good or average, you go to these national camps, which are there's maybe one camp a month. When you do that for a couple of years, you get used to kind of training system, and then maybe you go home, you start to be a coach you still have to adapt from some of these things. Of course, it's differences even, but still it's not that big differences. So maybe that's a part, because in US, you never bring people together.
Yeah.
So that I think it can be one of the answers why it's like this. And also, yeah, you have to get certified coach. You have to actually do a coaching course and go to attend. And first, you have to do like a general sports kind of thing, and then you have to do like assistant coach, a club coach, et cetera, et cetera.
So, from your tour, how would you say the level is right now, and of the juniors we have right now, and versus the seniors that's going to be currently competing? So the juniors, I assume, would be prepping for the LA Olympics, and then the seniors would be both the current Olympics and LA Olympics potentially.
I said this before, potential. I think there is like the potential is not a problem in US. Like there is athletes out there with a good potential that work hard, and they have a good. I would say like the average judoka has a better judo than I'm used to, technical wise. And the difference here maybe is they don't get exposed so much to different styles and different people. They're a little bit limited maybe in how to use that judo. It's easy to get to, if you only compete against other people or train against other people just a few times a year, or maybe only 1 or 2 times a year, you don't really know where you stand. You know what I mean? I think that is one big difference. And so now, yeah, I think there is some good juniors out there coming up, and the ideal situation, of course, would be that for LA to have a mix, of course, with some of the older athletes still in the team and some younger. But the best would, of course, be to have a younger generation doing LA as the first Olympics, and then they can do a second Olympics in Brisbane to 2032. Then you can develop them for 8 years, because now it's 4 years to LA.
Yeah.
If normally if you're not a superstar, if you're like a good, let's say, how you can be a good average judoka. I don't know if you can be that. If you're a good judoka, but you're not Teddy Riner or something like this. Okay. Somebody like that. You're a good athlete. Then I would say from your late junior year, the first senior year, you need 2 to 4 years to reach that step, where you can be able to fight for medals in the Grand Prix and Grand Slams.
So in terms of issues, you don't think the pipeline is an issue right now of talent? That's the talent pool that's available.
Not the numbers, not the bodies. I don't think the bodies is the issue. The issue, I think, is there is no really good plan how to take care of them. What is the next step? Because now we had the good Pan Am's games in Rio a couple of weeks ago. They did good, most of them. Also, it's hard to say because it's such a difference between the continents, what is good, what is bad. But they did good, but they could do good, so to say. Then we can see how they do in the World Championships, of course, in juniors. Is the same or not, because that's a different ball game. But then, for now, like the next step must be clear. What is the next step for them? Is it to compete at big events, or is it to train international or compete in smaller events to get? For me, I think it's a lot about, to get them exposed and get them to have fights, to go to tournament, to do 3, 4, 5, 6 fights, do a training camp, repeat that a number of times. They come back home, they train in a professional environment, get support, get what they need to stay healthy. It's the key, people don't talk so much about this. It's always about the grind, you have to push through, you have to suffer. But if you're going to last in judo, especially in a country like US, normally your peak is a little bit later. It's not when you're 22, like in Japan. It's probably when you're 25, 26, 28. So in this case, you must survive to that age.
Yeah.
If you burn yourself out when you're 18, 19, or 20, doesn't matter if you have a Pan Am gold medal or not. Nobody remembers a junior champion,
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, I've heard you say that many times in the other interviews that I listened to you do. But the reason I ask you to clarify, which you did, is because I think what you said, I hear it a lot from other high-level coaches and competitors with a competitive history. But I think your average coach, like I see talking online, they all think like, oh, we need to put judo in schools. We need to do this and that. Like they think there's like a pipeline issue, and that's why we're not winning medals. They think we just need more people.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course, if you have a bigger base, of course, it's more likely that somebody's going to fall through. But that is a whole different program. This is going to take, like if you have a judo school program or whatever, it will, of course, it will be good for judo to get judo as a sport.
Yeah.
As a sport, it will be good to get exposed. And okay, maybe in 15 years, this will start to pay off.
Yeah.
But when it comes to LA or Brisbane, it doesn't matter because those athletes going to fight for those medals. They're already in the system.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're not going to pop up. Yeah, maybe in the US, there comes some immigration and they get a green card or whatever. They can fight for the US. That's what can happen. But it's not like somebody's going to start a judo school program and 4 years later, they're going to compete in the Olympics. Yeah. Now you have to find a really superstar, you know. Yeah. So sometimes we must keep those things apart because one thing is the best of the sport of judo. It was the same in Sweden. What we did in the national team for many years, it was good for the national team. It was not necessarily good for the sport of judo.
Yep.
Like we didn't get more members. Maybe it got a little bit more popular. We got some more TV time or air time because we did good results in high-level competitions. Mm-hmm. But it was just a limited number of people who got exposed and got that experience. So it's two different sides of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people listening should need to differentiate the two. So do you think we have time? Like a lot of people I talked to years ago said like, well, we need to start now. Like it takes around 2 Olympic cycles to develop like an athlete. So now LA is 4 years away. Like, and Paris is right now. So.
Paris is next month, 2 months.
Yeah. So do you think we have enough time? Let's not even talk about Paris, like LA. Like, do you think we would be able to get more than one medal?
Any medal. I'll take anything. All right.
I think we can be able to fight for one medal. Yes. To have more than one medal, we need to do something really good starting tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We cannot wait. Yeah. We cannot wait. And again, this is not my decision. You know, I don't have that mandate to decide what to do and not to do. I can only play my part in it as good as I can and trying to. But of course, the opportunity of the LA is, of course, if you have 14 spots, of course, it's more likely that you can have somebody else who fall through. Mm-hmm. If you have to qualify, because you're going to have to qualify to LA, like you have to do for Paris. Now for Paris, it's going to be maybe 3 athletes. So if you have 3 athletes, okay, you have 3 chances. If you have 14 shots, of course, this chance is bigger. And there is some of these athletes who are coming through now that I think in 4 years, if everything goes well, they can be able, you have Jack, Unesco, you have some other guys coming up that they can maybe pull through. I hope more can do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so
it's also worth mentioning because you also have one part of athletes which I realized which was good when I did the trips. There is quite many athletes that are quite underexposed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're good judo players, but they have not done these training camps. They've not been exposed to these athletes, these environments. So in these cases, they can be a fast development.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because if they are a little bit more mature, they're a little bit more, they know what they are doing, and you expose them, there's a chance. There is a chance.
So when you say exposed, do you mean like let's say you have unlimited funding, right? Do you mean going to more tournaments, international tournaments, or you mean like going to like the European Open or going to a Tokyo university to train and live there for 3 months?
I would say for everybody after Paris, the first and only goal for everybody should be to train. To train professionally every day, at home, at the international environments, with a coach who's overviewing them, seeing the progress, putting them on the right line. They're not doing what they want all the time. They of course, they do what they want, but they have to follow some certain lines. You can track their development and see, okay, hey, this is what we have to change or whatever, because this has to be done now. Mm-hmm. This is the first step. And when people can train professionally, And then I don't mean like you go and train. People think maybe they train professionally, but you really follow a program. Mm-hmm. This is your training program. We make it individualized for you. This is what we're going to do for you. Then we can see, okay, this is good, this is bad, this we have to change. And this is working well. Of course, then you can start adding the competitions. You can start adding international. Of course, you have to go international competition training camps because you need to get exposed to the different styles. Yeah. But if you're not training in a good environment and cannot have that development at home, it doesn't matter much you travel, because you cannot travel yourself to a medal only. It can help you for a while, but not only. And also, when you travel a lot, first of all, because it costs money, but it also costs a lot of time and energy. This is something people don't really realize. I think sometimes, you see those big countries with the bigger stars, they don't travel that much. Because, you lose training times. If you do 10 tournaments a year, which you have to do now in Olympic qualification, now it ended, today was the last Grand Slam in Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
This concludes the 2-year block. I've been in this situation. It's terrible because this pressure is so high to get these spots, because some of them are on the line. You have to go to every event not to lose your spot.
Yeah.
So what happens is, it happens to us for every cycle, for every Olympics. Like we have some athletes, they made the qualification, but they are dead.
Yeah.
Because they traveled so much, they competed so much with so much pressure. Then okay, stop. Now we have 2 months to prepare for Olympic Games.
So this was something I'm going to ask later, but you brought it up at a very good time. Are you familiar with like Jessica Klimke and Deguchi fighting for that one? Yeah. So first of all, I always thought there's no world champion in the same year as the Olympics, but it seems like there's going to be a world championship this year.
In 10 days.
I don't know. I don't know why. So based off of what you said, do you think it's a smart idea for them to do it yet again, to have 2 of their best athletes fight for a spot with such a short amount of time between the world championships and the Olympics?
I just was in Canada, so I talked to them about it, but they have their criteria, how to select them. In this case, I don't remember exactly now how is it, but I guess after the World Championship is going to be the one who decides who's then are going. I wouldn't say it's optimal way, but also in this case, both of them are at such a high level. So I think they can be working well for them. But the most people or countries who can make the selection, they try to do it earlier. Some have to push it later, depending on it's also depending on every National Olympic Committee, which criteria they have. Yeah. It's not always up to the sport to say, we want to do it this way. So sometimes it's the National Olympic Committee decides the criteria.
Yeah.
But if you can, I would say that the optimal situation, if you can make the selections like 6 months before, at least, if you can, it is good. As an example, in France, they selected the first group of athletes in November last year.
Yeah.
Then they selected the second group in February after Grand Slam.
Japan did something similar too, I think. Yeah.
Then it was just in one category they selected like recently. For France. So I think that is a better commitment, because again, if you do this traveling so much, let's say for each trip, you lose maybe 2-3 days of proper training. Yeah. You have to lose your weight. You have to maybe pick up a small injury when you compete. Yeah. So if you lose 4 or 5 days times 10, it's like 1.5 months.
Yeah,
properly. And as a young athlete on the way up, you need that time for training and develop.
Yeah. Okay. So do you think us copying what Canada did is, let's say we get 2 or 3 medals this Paris Olympics, whatever, and we get a bunch of sponsors.
You and your jokes, Anthony. You're such a kidder.
We get a bunch, some, not a lot, but some sponsors. Let's say Coca-Cola sponsors USA Judo or something.
Well, and Nike. I thought Nike was supposed to sponsor us. How about that?
So do you think with that money, and what Nicholas Gill told me was that they basically forced everyone that's on the national team, do you want funding? Then you have to train in Quebec, Montreal. So you have to do like just that? Like, do you think copying Judo Canada's way of doing things would work here?
First of all, I don't think you ever can copy a system straight off. But what Judo Canada is doing is nothing exceptional. This is, I would say, 90% of the system is like that.
Yeah.
If you get funded, I also talked about that recently in a podcast. Also, like if you get funded, you don't get funded for fun. You get funded to do a job, and this time you have different requirements. Some countries have the requirement you have to be in a training center, otherwise you don't get funded, you don't get paid. Then you can have the option to do it by yourself. Some countries have, you don't have option. That's a little bit different. But I think everyone must understand that to have a funding, it comes with responsibilities. Number one is you have to do a job. Number two, you have to perform. If you don't perform, you get no funding. And in US, I feel a little bit that people want a lot, but they don't want to be accountable for what they're doing.
Yes, that's very accurate assessment.
That is an issue which has to be somehow overcome. This is something I do here with athletes here.
Are your athletes funded right now?
Yeah, they're funded. But they are in the program now, and I like I said to them, like, we're going to fund you, we're going to pay you, but you have to follow the program. If you don't follow the program, and if I don't think that you do what we agree about, or I don't think that you're following the line, or if you're not fit enough, I'm not going to send you to some tournament. So because I cannot send you if you're not funded. And it's not because I don't want to be a bad guy. It's because as a coach, as a head coach for even in Sweden, it's my responsibility to have the results. If I'm gonna send athletes, I must be comfortable with that I can support them all the way. If they lose, I must always be able to support them and say, hey, we did what we could. For example, in Tokyo Olympic Games, we had big expectations to bring a medal, at least one medal. We should bring at least one medal with the results and the team we had. We didn't. Everybody lost in the top 16 round for different reasons. And of course, in media in Sweden, they killed us a little bit, me. I said, okay, I take that. I can take the responsibility. I know these guys, they prepared as good as they could. Like we really did what we could with the circumstances as it was. Because they followed the program, they were like, I know that they did what they could. And in this case, it's no problem for me to handle that. But if it would be the opposite, like if I didn't really believe in them and we went there and they screwed up, it's still going to be my responsibility. But I cannot support that. That's why it's important as a coach to support somebody. You must really, really know that they're doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So that's why if you would receive a lot of money, as you said, the first thing I would do is to invest in an infrastructure that is supporting a system that we can bring athletes through.
So when you say infrastructure, you don't mean like training centers and stuff. You mean like
training center, coaches, regional centers, whatever you need. And then, of course, you give funding to send people. But in the end, if there is not a structure where they can walk through, like say, hey, you're a 16-year-old guy, you're coming up. Good, you do this. You go to these events, you go to these events. Next step is this step. Next step, you go to this. So there's a way to follow. Then okay, if I do good, I can go to this step. If I miss this step, there's this other option.
Yeah,
this is something we do. Like normally I had like before, if it was not Olympic qualification, if it was Olympic qualification and somebody had a shot to reach the Olympics, okay, we had to do what we could to push them. Years before, if they're not performing, or I had some guys that were injured, they're coming back. Okay, you go to European Cups instead. You do a couple of events there, you start to win some medals there, then I put you back on the team and we go on the Grand Prix and Grand Slams. 2 or 3 of the guys, they did that. They went back because they got injured after Rio. They went to some European Opens, European Cups, got some medals. They came back and qualified for Tokyo.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we would do the other way, that would be around,
Yeah. So is it safe to say that you think the biggest issue, because we've talked about a lot of issues, but would you say the biggest issue is infrastructure? Like there's no set infrastructure in the US. Okay. So let's say you got like a magic wand, like a genie, and you get,
like
but you
me?
only get one. Yeah, but only one wish,
one?
right? So what would one thing you would change, like snap, like tomorrow starts just one, because you just say infrastructure, the genie is not going to know what, but if you say like another training center or like more money or like, is there one thing that you can, that you really want, that you need, that you can have happen tomorrow?
One thing is hard to say. In that case, I would say the only one thing I think that we could do good in short term is to have all the best players in the same place.
Okay, that's a very, very good answer. Okay,
what's a test? What a good answer.
No, because I agree with it. That would be my one. That would be my one realistic thing too. You know, versus just like I feel like a lot of people be like, oh, I'd ask for a Hifumi Abe or something. You know, or should they to become an American citizen? You know,
what many people think is the best answer is, okay, we give this amount of money to one athlete, to two athletes, and hope they're best. But you know, they get injured, you stand with nothing.
Yeah. You don't gamble, right?
High performance sport is always a gamble. It's always a gamble.
So it's like spreading your eggs out. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit about the French Federation training. Or that was mostly for teachers.
Yeah.
So what did you think of it? Was it I wanted to be there, so I couldn't because I was traveling. So was it a good experience? Like, was it something, did you learn anything new or?
Yeah, so I didn't take part in the whole program because I was busy traveling to the clubs. But there were two seminars, one in LA and there was one also here in Charlotte during their international camp, like 1 week, something like that. So I took part in some of the sessions, and I know these guys who did it since before, especially one of them, Larbi, he was the head coach in the team before. I was very good. It was very good. I wish this was something that I would say, like, everybody who's a judo teacher, even like teaching kids how to learn the fundamental and how to stay in the sport of judo should do it. You know, should go to have that experience, because even for me as an experienced coach, and as again, I very, very rare or never work with kids in that way. Still, you learn. You know, you always pick something up. You know, in the especially because in the France they have a very good attitude towards, like they make a difference between training and education. Like this judo school program for kids is like more an educational way.
Yeah.
Like, of course, they have to do it because it's done in the school. It's conducted in the school, so that's why they cannot say, "We do martial arts in the school." You know, it's more like we educate them in judo, not to train them. And then, if they get interested in judo, they go to the local club and start continue the program.
Yeah.
So this is a different approach to it, and what you should think of, focus on, and to have that step from playing sport to learning judo in a very easy, good way. I think that was a very, very good concept that they had, and I'm really impressed of it. So
that's something I try to do in my kids' class, but sometimes the parents are the ones like, why aren't they throwing and choking people? Kind of thing.
And then when their kid gets thrown and choked out, why is my kid getting thrown and choked out?
There is always a
So I'm not going to talk about leg grabbing because it's like a dead horse. But what do you think about? I don't know if it's just me, but what do you think about the new, especially in the juniors? I noticed people just dropping to the floor and spamming like drop throws and sacrifice throws. What do you think of that meta? And the second part of that question is, what kind of, I don't want to like prime you into the answer, but like what kind of rules would you like to see change personally after the Paris Olympics?
So there was two big difference in the questions.
Yeah, sorry.
The first one regarding the drop techniques for kids, it's terrible. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any development. I'm surprised that it still exists, because most of the world it doesn't. Like in most countries, you're not allowed to do dropping techniques before you're 12 or something. It's a little bit different, of course.
Yeah.
I was to the first tournament I was to in the US was the President Cup and Dallas Open in Texas in November, I think. And the kids, I think 90% of the fights was won by either drop Yonage, drop Kataguruma, or the other kid hit the head in the tatami and got injured and walked off,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Problem with the drop technique is when you do a drop Yonage, especially when you're that young, of course, you're not good enough to react of it. And if you hit your head, you hit your head,
Mm-hmm.
But also you're not good enough to do something else. Because if you do that drop, they don't have those transitions to Nevasa. They don't have those, what you're going to do. You're dropping your knees. You cannot do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It ends there, you grab your drop, you grab your drop, you grab your drop. So what happens is one kid is going to go away as a winner. And in one day they can win 4 medals, be national number 1 in the roster. As 6 years old, they have 4 gold medals and they're number 1 in US. What is the next challenge for them? Win 8 medals next time? 20 medals? So when they're in the age of 10, they've been number 1 in US for 4 years, they're going to quit.
Yeah.
The other side of it is the other kid who didn't win, who got knocked on their head and got a pain in the neck. You think they're going to come back?
Yep.
You haven't been in the US that long. You just described everything that I've been seeing over the last 5-6 years.
Do you think, me as a parent, if I went to a tournament with a kid and they would hit the head like that a couple of times, I wouldn't take them to judo.
Yeah.
Why? Why should I do that? They get concussion and they get, I take them to baseball instead or whatever, So that's a big issue. And also this, when you start to give the kids opportunity to compete a lot, that's good. That's fine. They can do that. But if it's too much and you get, if you give them too much to win too early, it's really, really hard to motivate them and what is the next step?
Yeah.
What is the next step? And this week, I think it's very clear here that the kids in US are very good. I see kids here, some trainings, some competition, do stuff, that the cadets do at home.
Yeah.
They do super nice Fumenage, Kataguruma, super good stuff, technical good, not too bad. Also good Nevasa stuff. Because I also think many people do jiu-jitsu. So they have but then we start to look at the youth nationals. I was recently in Atlanta, the youth nationals, the categories was really, they're not bad, but the numbers were so low.
Yeah.
What happened with all these kids, these 800 kids, you come to youth nationals, it's 50 kids.
Yeah.
And for these 50 kids, you're going to build a base from LA.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. Now for this, on this way, and I think one problem is the rules that it's allowed to do these techniques. You're allowed to get national champion at a very, very early age, which kills the motivation. I know US, I noticed, that got explained to me many times for different people that in US, okay, it's more competitive. It's more parents push a lot more, which is okay to a certain point, but in a development perspective, in a technical development perspective, it's not good.
So I'm not sure you're familiar, but I have sources that I know that their USJF is actually considering banning drop throws for kids, but that's just one federation. So that will be only the tournaments run by that federation.
I met a couple of kids or coaches at clubs who doesn't teach it.
We don't teach it at ours.
But they say that's a struggle. Of course, for the kids, because they don't train it, and then they go to the competition and they lose. Mm-hmm. And they get the okay, well, can I do it? I want to do it. Because then the case, as a coach, it's hard to say no to it because it's allowed.
Yeah,
it's a problem. I understand that, and that's why it must be taken from a governing body to say, hey, it's not good.
So, so in terms of coaching and sports science, so you clearly went to highly educated college for it. So how has it changed over the years? Like, have you noticed any sort of has your approach changed due to new findings or studies or your own experience?
Yeah, my approach, or in general, I would say my approach to it has been quite often have relied to it, when it comes to building the programs and back in the days, which is a term I heard here a lot of times. I was, the physical training or the training programs, they were like you do a 10K run in the morning, then you climb the ropes and do push-ups, and then you do judo, and then that's it,
Yeah.
When I started as a national coach, we started to really use real weight programs. We started with doing tests, like science-based tests every time, 2 times a year, 3 times a year for everybody. We give them professional programs, and then we develop the test throughout the years. And also the training methods for judo, like high and low intensity trainings, how to do them, when to do them. This has also changed a lot, and this is also changing a lot all over the world. Like I would say, today there is, I cannot say for everybody, of course, but it's not many federations who doesn't have somebody like a sports science background involved in the process, because again, it's about sustainability and development. Again, if you can make athletes to be sustainable and last over time and develop over time, you gain more medals. You can see that today. It's a big difference today compared to maybe 10, 15 years ago. You see a lot of guys, and also now women in the mid-30s, still competitive.
Yeah.
Still doing really, really good. Yeah, like now Telma Monteiro, she's in Portugal, she's going for 6th Olympics. It's almost 40 years.
Yeah, I saw the
that's
video.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
This doesn't happen by chance, It's not, you don't survive to do that for that long by doing 10K in the morning and rope climbs. You have to do a lot of other things. You have to take care of your body. You have to do have the athletic trainers and the physical trainers and all this stuff. Nutritionist is a very important part. We can almost talk a program about that part, the weight cutting. So that's why the sports science is important, and it has to be applied, especially in the high performance. Otherwise it's hard to stay.
So I still have a few more questions, but I'm just trying to wrap it up.
Hold on, I got
5 minutes.
All right,
5 minutes, right?
All right.
Okay. So do you have any tips for aspiring coaches? And when I say that, I mean like other coaches like you who had a competitive career and just want to get into coaching.
You want to be coaches?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would encourage it. I think what we need more coaches, young coaches who have been good athletes, or not have to be super successful, but they have been there, competitive, and like it. To transfer to coaching, it's what we need, and we must support that and help them through. Especially if we guys are a bit older, to give them the chance. This was also something when I was a young coach. I got support from some of the older coaches that they believed in me and pushed me and helped me. Without that, we cannot hold them back. We must support them and give them the chance. That's why also I want to for the future, we have to create a coaching team for USA Judo, and we support those young coaches. For me, it's not important for me. Like some people, it's very important to go sit on this chair, in this boat you're talking about. For me, it's not really that important because, first of all, I've done it for a long time, and it's fun, but it also comes with a lot of pressure. But we must have people who's prepared to do it, and the only chance for them to do it is other people to show them the way. Because if you don't know how to do it, even if you be a good athlete, it's different. It's a big difference.
Yeah.
So the first, I would say, if they are not educated, to try to get some kind of education, like concerning like sport performance or sports science. Is a really, really good base to have to transfer into judo. And don't be afraid to learn. You must always put yourself out there. For example, now I was in this weekend. We were at Pedro's place in Boston, and did the training camp together with them. And it was some good technical work there with Jimmy and Travis and all these guys there. For me, I learned a lot just to stand there and watch, because I had some athletes in Sweden. They were good in Nevasa. They win a lot in Nevasa, but it's a different Nevasa. We do it a different way. We do it a little bit more simple, I would say. Like here it's more deeper in Nevasa. So, you always learn, you always learn. You must be open with that. I told them, hey guys, this was super good. I learned a lot only by watching,
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't make me a worse coach. Some people think they're afraid to go and ask, because they think, they're not going to think I'm good enough because or whatever. This. In the end, it's what you can give to the athletes. If the athletes don't win, you're not a good coach anyway. So,
Juan, I actually have two questions. It'll be like 1 minute over, I promise. So, okay. My last question is, do you have any tips and advice for the kids or parents that are aiming for the LA Olympics? Like what, to just train more, or like, and any particular things to like focus on?
Especially for the kids or for the athletes, of course, you should have that goal. You should have that dream to fight in LA. But make sure to have realistic goals on the way. Because people say, now I'm going to go for LA. Yes, but it's a long way to LA, from where you are now to be in Olympics. There's a lot of steps to go. And make sure you have a clear goal, what you want to do to achieve that. And don't be afraid for the challenge. You must be accepting the challenge. Sometimes the challenge can be to go and fight in national tournament. Many people don't want to go and fight national tournament because they think they're too good. If you think you're too good to fight in a national tournament, how do you think you're going to handle the pressure the one day you step on a tatami in LA? Mm-hmm. If you can't handle the pressure to go and fight in the nationals or whatever because you think you're too good, how are you going to handle the pressure that day you have to go in the Olympic tatami? Yeah. This kind of, you must put yourself in a situation where you feel pressured and manage to cope with that. Because in the end, when it comes to Olympics, especially the Olympic Games, but even World Championships, it's all about handling the pressure. It's 95%. It's about handling the pressure. So try to think about that and to create a pathway from that. And most important of all, have fun. You must enjoy the process. If you don't, I always tell my athletes we must have fun,
Yeah.
It's fun to win. I always say that to them because sometimes they think my training sucks or whatever. I say, yes, it's fun to win. You want to win or you want to do this. Yeah. But in the end, this is also something I learned a lot, I would say, the years which I was bad at myself, was to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. I had really, really hard time to enjoy. Like I was always, we win some medals, we take Grand Slam gold medals or whatever. But in my head, I was always on the next tournament, or 6 months next tournament, or 1 year ahead. Because I could really never enjoy it. So this is something I think you should be able to do. Have fun, enjoy what you're doing. When you win, celebrate it, move on to the next one. And, the other thing is something important for the kids.
Yep, that was my last question. But how we wrap up the interview is always asking our guests, like, what if you had one walkout song to the Olympics or World Championship, what would it be?
For me?
Yeah.
The Final Countdown with Europe.
I love that. I like that one. I like that answer right there.
We'll play that next time you visit us in the club.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for being on our show. We really appreciate it. Is there anything you like to put out there? Anything you like to plug? Your own Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, threads that you like to put out there?
If I want to?
Yeah.
I suck at social media. If you put it out, I'm gonna put it out there when you put it out.
Okay, I'll put it out there.
We'll put some stuff out there then. All right.
I will do it. I will link it. Whatever.
Thank you for so much being on the show. We greatly appreciate it. We greatly appreciate your time, and I really appreciate what you're doing for the U.S. team. I hope you put us on the right track, give us some good structure to build a better team for the LA Olympics and beyond.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Wow. That was a great interview. I'm impressed. Are you not
say
impressed?
That every time. You say that every time. But
No, I don't.
For real, I think it was a great interview.
I do.
I love the responses and honesty that Robert Eriksson gave us. I'm not going to say who, but there are some interviews in the past where it's like people are dodging the questions and like, but he gave a really eloquent, serious respectable answer that I think everyone could be happy with. They don't feel.
Well, he
yeah.
told the truth in a lot of stuff. You know, you want to be a real professional athlete, or at least a high level international judo player, you got to take it serious. The U.S. needs to take it more serious and start training together. You know, like I really agree with that. Like I always go back to the same analogy of like, you know, you get drafted by one team, but I'm going to go play and practice somewhere else. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's one thing that it's funny enough. It's I don't know if it will be the right term, but it's the lowest hanging fruit in a sense in terms of cost and difficulty. But I think egos and politics makes it like one of the most unlikely things that happen. Like, I think there's a bigger chance that Coca-Cola is going to sponsor us before that happens. Yeah, you're going to have to
Coke,
really...
Pepsi, you guys out there, you know, we loved... I will drink a 2-liter, all right, and do some judo for you, all right?
Diet Coke for me only. Sorry, I don't really drink... Actually, I'll drink... Was that Coke branded water? The Dasani?
Dasani, yeah.
Yeah, it tastes nasty, by the way.
We're losing sponsorships, Anthony. God damn it.
I have a reverse osmosis thing installed in my house now, and I can't go back to other water. Sorry.
I will drink rainwater. Okay. I will drink water from the.
Yeah, but I don't think that's very likely to happen unless the compensation, like we kind of talked about how the compensation saying we'll pay you this much if you move here and train full time kind of thing. Unless that becomes very attractive, then I don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, it's money. Money is the solution to not all problems, but it certainly helps.
Well, it just solidifies what I've always thought about. One, the team needs to train together at a certain place, and B, compete more internationally at big tournaments and go to more places. Because there's the same thing that, oh my God, his name just escaped me right now. Travis Stevens was saying, you know, when he was training for the Olympics or for high-low tournaments, he would go to Japan, he would go to Georgia, he would go to France, he would go places and train with these people to get better, you know?
But everyone at that time also trained at Jimmy Pedro's, you know?
Yeah.
So I think the problem is no one can agree. Everyone agrees that they need to do that, but they can't agree where to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So I think the only fair thing is to build a judo dojo in the middle of Death Valley. And
dude, can you imagine a weight cutting there? Oh my God. Everyone's dropping 2 or 3 weight classes.
Yeah, somewhere neutral, you know, like maybe not Death Valley because it's still too close to California, but just somewhere right smack in the middle, not close to any of the big judo clubs.
Well, I think it's kind of the good thing about North Carolina because it's kind of
I'm joking, by the way. So,
but no, I'm just saying, like, put it in North Carolina. I don't think it literally favors anybody. It's not in the middle, but it's not too much East Coast, not too much West Coast. It's, I guess,
no, it is East Coast, and I think it makes a lot of sense. We're having a discussion now, which is fine.
I know. We didn't want to do this,
but it was because we were short on time, and Robert Erikson's interview got really long, and I actually had more questions. But anyway,
part 2 later. Okay,
East Coast
we'll find him at nationals. We'll find him at nationals and ask him.
Yeah, East Coast makes a lot of sense because it's cheaper and shorter time to fly to Europe for all the competitions. West Coast takes longer to fly to both Asia, the Japan, and to Europe. So it will also be more costly, and also the cost of living in a lot of areas like LA and everything is higher. So I think Charlotte is a pretty decent location, especially what we've learned today from the interview is that they're being funded by the state and the university. Yeah. So come on, USC. One of the most expensive tuitions in the country, and can't even start a Olympic judo program.
Come on, Cal State, Bakersfield. Come on, Bakersfield, get your shit together. Come on, Sacramento.
Yeah, but I had a lot of questions lined up. I ended up asking some questions in my head that I thought was different, but the answers were very similar. So I feel like, oh, damn, I wasted Juan's time.
No, it was not wasted time. I felt bad because I had something to go do. I had to run out real quick. Yeah. So. All right. So it was a really good interview. I hope we can get him on the show again later, maybe next year, see how his time's going, see how that's progression. Definitely right before the LA Olympics, I want to get him on. Yeah. So that's like 4 years from now, but there's something for the future. And we'll probably see him at more tournaments. He'll probably come to the dojo again. We'll talk to him.
He'll be at Senior Nationals, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. He'll be there.
Yeah. I wanted to ask him which barbecue he thought was favorite. So
barbecue.
Yeah. Because, like Carolinas, Texas, and Kansas, and what was the other one? Tennessee, they all have like this rivalry with barbecue. When I was in Texas, I don't think he's going to know that. I don't know. I was just trying to get him in trouble.
Okay, at the Nationals, we'll give him the GoPro out. We'll corner him and ask him. Okay.
All
right. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow us at Tatami Talk at Gmail. Well, you want to send any messages, things you want to talk about, things you want us to go over again, you can hit us at Gmail at Tatami Talk at Gmail. That one.
Tatami Talk at gmail.com.
At Gmail. It's not Tatami Talks. Because you can also follow us on Instagram at Tatami Talk. You can follow us on Threads on Tatami Talk. We don't have an Instagram. No, we do have the Instagram. What we don't have is the Twitter. We don't have that. We don't have the X. Didn't get that one. You want to follow us on other stuff, you follow me at @Jerry_Juan on Instagram. You follow Anthony Throws on Instagram. Anything else I'm forgetting?
Nope.
All right. That's it. And with that, please don't forget to
compete at Senior Nationals, which is, I think it'll be after this comes out. So, yep. Then slap the mat.